Taking 1 tablespoon of olive oil first thing in the morning, before you eat anything else, is one of the simplest habits you can build. And the changes it triggers in your body are more significant than most people expect. This is not about a fad. Olive oil has been used medicinally for thousands of years. Modern research has spent decades trying to understand exactly why populations that consume it regularly tend to have lower rates of heart disease, metabolic disorders, and chronic inflammation. What we've learned is that timing matters, how you consume it matters, and the type of olive oil you use matters quite a bit. Let's go through what actually happens inside your body when you take that single tablespoon on an empty stomach each morning. Your digestive system wakes up before you do. By the time you're brushing your teeth, your stomach has already been preparing for food. Gastric acid is building. Your gut lining is in a heightened state of readiness. When the very first thing you put in your stomach is olive oil, you're giving your digestive tract something it can use immediately, and something that actively protects the lining of your gut as it does its job. Olive oil stimulates the production of bile from your gallbladder. Bile is what your body uses to break down fats throughout the day. When you trigger that release first thing in the morning, you're essentially priming the system before your bigger meal arrives. People who have sluggish digestion, bloating, or discomfort after fatty meals sometimes find that this morning habit helps their gut move more efficiently across the entire day. That's not coincidental. You're waking up a process that often runs slow when it hasn't been activated. The second thing that happens is related to inflammation, and this is where olive oil's biochemistry becomes particularly interesting. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal. When researchers first identified it, they noticed something unusual. It inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes that ibuprofen inhibits. Not at the same dose, and not with the same potency, but through the same biological pathway. This means that every time you consume high-quality extra virgin olive oil, you're introducing a natural anti-inflammatory agent into your bloodstream. Chronic low-grade inflammation is behind a long list of conditions that develop slowly over years. Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, joint deterioration, metabolic syndrome, and certain cancers are all connected to a state of persistent inflammation in the body. 1 tablespoon of olive oil doesn't reverse those conditions, but a daily habit repeated over months and years does shift your body's inflammatory baseline. That's what the long-term data shows in populations with high olive oil consumption. When you take it on an empty stomach, the oleocanthal absorbs quickly. Your gut isn't competing with other foods for absorption. The compound reaches your bloodstream faster, and your cells respond sooner. Now let's talk about what olive oil does to your cardiovascular system, because this is where the research is most consistent. Your heart and blood vessels are continuously exposed to cholesterol particles moving through your bloodstream. Not all cholesterol behaves the same way. LDL cholesterol, the kind associated with plaque buildup in your arteries, is particularly dangerous when it becomes oxidized. Oxidation happens when LDL particles are exposed to free radicals, unstable molecules that cause cellular damage throughout your body. Olive oil is rich in polyphenols and vitamin E, both of which are antioxidants. They neutralize free radicals before they can oxidize LDL particles. Less oxidized LDL means less arterial plaque. Less plaque means arteries that stay more flexible and more open as you age. Over time, your arteries lose flexibility naturally. They become stiffer, and that changes how pressure moves through your blood vessels. Anything that slows that stiffening process has a direct impact on your long-term blood pressure and your risk of cardiovascular events. The oleic acid in olive oil, which makes up about 70 to 80% of its fat content, also raises HDL cholesterol. HDL is the type that actually helps clear LDL from your arteries and carries it back to your liver for processing. So you're getting a double benefit at the cardiovascular level. One mechanism is removing the harmful particles. Another is reducing their ability to cause damage in the first place. 1 tablespoon a day won't undo a high sugar or highly processed food diet. But if your nutrition is reasonably sound, this habit adds consistent cardiovascular protection that compounds over years. Let's move to blood sugar, because this is where many people are surprised. When you eat a meal, particularly one with refined carbohydrates or sugar, your blood glucose rises. How quickly and how high it rises depends partly on what else is in your digestive system at the time. Fats slow gastric emptying, which means food moves from your stomach into your small intestine at a more controlled pace. When that happens, glucose from that food enters your bloodstream more gradually. Taking olive oil before breakfast changes the environment your first meal enters. The oil coats your stomach and slows how quickly carbohydrates are absorbed. The result is a more moderate rise in blood sugar after eating. For people who already have insulin resistance or who are managing prediabetes, this blunting effect on post-meal glucose spikes is meaningful. For people who don't have a blood sugar issue, it still reduces the energy crash that often follows a high-carb breakfast. Olive oil also appears to improve how your cells respond to insulin over time. Insulin sensitivity is about how efficiently your cells take up glucose from the bloodstream when insulin is present. When cells become resistant to insulin, blood sugar stays elevated longer. Your pancreas has to work harder, and over time, this contributes to metabolic disease. The oleic acid and polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity at the cellular level, particularly when consumed consistently. There's another system that morning olive oil affects, and it tends to get less attention than the heart and blood sugar: your liver. Your liver filters everything that passes through your digestive tract. It processes fats, stores energy, produces bile, and detoxifies compounds that you ingest or that your body produces naturally. When fat accumulates inside liver cells, which happens gradually with poor diet, excess sugar intake, or metabolic dysfunction, it impairs all of those functions. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now one of the most common chronic liver conditions in adults. The monounsaturated fats in olive oil, specifically oleic acid, have been shown to reduce fat accumulation in liver cells. They influence the genes that regulate how your liver stores and processes fat. Taking olive oil in the morning when your liver is essentially fasting and working through its overnight cycle gives it a useful, easily processed fuel source that supports normal function rather than taxing it. Now, a few important details about how to do this correctly. The type of olive oil you use matters significantly. Extra virgin olive oil is the only type that retains the polyphenols and oleocanthal we've been discussing. Refined olive oil, light olive oil, or blended varieties have been processed in ways that reduce or eliminate those compounds. The anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects you're looking for come specifically from the phenolic content of extra virgin olive oil. Check the label. Look for a harvest date rather than just an expiration date, because freshness directly affects polyphenol concentration. 1 tablespoon is the right amount. More is not better in the context of a morning dose. Olive oil is calorie-dense, about 120 calories per tablespoon, and your digestive system can only absorb and use so much at once. A tablespoon is enough to trigger the bile response, coat the gut lining, and deliver meaningful amounts of oleocanthal and oleic acid into your system. Take it at room temperature or slightly warm. Some people add a squeeze of lemon juice, which doesn't significantly change the chemical properties but may improve tolerability for those who find the taste strong. Don't heat it to high temperatures for this purpose. Heat degrades polyphenols. Give it 10 to 15 minutes before your first meal. That window allows your gallbladder to respond, your stomach lining to be coated, and the initial absorption of oleocanthal to begin before food arrives. People with gallbladder disease, gallstones, or those who have had their gallbladder removed should speak with their physician before starting this habit. The bile-stimulating effect of olive oil can aggravate certain gallbladder conditions. If you're on medications that affect fat absorption or digestion, that conversation with your doctor matters too. For most healthy adults, this is a low-risk, well-studied practice with meaningful long-term benefits. The Mediterranean diet, which is the most thoroughly researched dietary pattern for longevity and chronic disease prevention, has olive oil as one of its central components. What we've learned from decades of research on that diet aligns consistently with what we know about olive oil's individual mechanisms. The changes from this habit don't show up overnight. You won't feel different after 3 days. What you're doing is building a biological environment, day by day, where inflammation runs lower, your arteries stay more flexible, your liver processes fat more efficiently, and your blood sugar responds more smoothly to what you eat. Those changes develop over weeks and months, and they show up in lab values, in how your cardiovascular system ages, and in how your metabolic health holds as you get older. The research on olive oil is unusually consistent for a nutritional intervention. Most single foods have mixed evidence. Olive oil's effects on cardiovascular risk, inflammatory markers, and metabolic function have been replicated across populations, across study designs, and over long time periods. That's a level of scientific confidence that's worth paying attention to. 1 tablespoon, extra virgin. Before breakfast. That's the practice. It's one of the lowest effort changes you can make to your morning routine, and it's one of the few nutrition habits where the biology behind it is genuinely well understood. Your heart, your gut, your liver, and your inflammatory response all respond in ways that support long-term health. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet to benefit from this. You just need to be consistent. And there you have it. Take this knowledge and take control of your health. Thank you for watching.